He fled Nazi Germany with nothing. He rebuilt his career from stop-motion puppets in a rented studio. He made 6 films that each won an Oscar. He spent the last 20 years of his life trying to make one more. He never got to. The Time Machine, 1960. Morlocks dragging humans underground. A world on fire. A chrome machine spinning through centuries. And a man behind it all who spent 20 years trying to make the ending he never got to film. 16 facts. One of them involves a Morlock dissolving on camera in a way nobody had seen before. Another involves a song that vanished before anyone could hear it. Fact 1. The museum in the year 802,701 contains props from Forbidden Planet. MGM recycled them between productions without telling anyone. The large acrylic navigation sphere in the Talking Rings room is from Forbidden Planet, 1956. The gray flight suits in the nuclear war sequence are the crew uniforms from the same film. Both were MGM productions. The studio reused what it had. The unintentional result. The film's far future contains artifacts from another science fiction universe. The Morlocks share a world with a starship that hadn't been built yet. Fact 2. The film's ending was never what H.G. Wells wrote, and Pal knew it. In Wells's original novel, the time traveler never returns home. He reaches a dying Earth, a red beach under a swollen sun, giant crab-like creatures as the last life, the ocean completely still. Pal acknowledged the sequence existed and had always intended to film it. Budget killed it. He said later he could vividly imagine Rod Taylor and Yvette Mimieux standing alone on that lifeless shore. A very interesting story of the loneliness of these two people, he called it. Fact 3. The lava that won the Oscar smelled so bad the crew could barely stand near it. The special effects team chose oatmeal dyed red and orange, poured over a miniature London set. They prepared a large batch days before the shoot. A heat wave hit over the weekend. The oatmeal fermented. By Monday it had lost its consistency and smelled catastrophic. No budget for a do-over. The schedule was locked. They rolled the cameras on the rotten oatmeal anyway. That sequence won the Academy Award for Best Special Effects. Fact 4. The film was almost made in Japan. In 1958, a Japanese producer approached Pal about a co-production with Shochiku during the height of the Godzilla era. Had the deal gone through, the film would have been produced by Shochiku during the peak of the Godzilla era. Japanese locations, Japanese actors, Toho-style practical effects. The producer eventually withdrew. Every Hollywood studio passed. Pal only found backing while filming Tom Thumb in England. The version of the time machine that defined science fiction cinema was a backup plan. Fact 5. The man who designed the Morlocks and built the time machine prop later created the Star Trek tricorder, communicator, and the Romulan warbird. After the film, Chang moved into television. He created the original Star Trek tricorder, communicator, and the Romulan warbird for Balance of Terror, 3 of the most recognizable objects in science fiction history. The man who built the most iconic time travel device in cinema also built the most iconic communication device in television. Fact 6. Pal fled Germany in 1933 with his wife and almost nothing else. He arrived in Hollywood in 1940 with one skill, stop-motion puppet animation, and used it to rebuild everything. Paramount gave him a studio and a staff of 25. He was nominated for an Academy Award 7 consecutive years. 6 of his films won Oscars across his career. When asked which was his favorite, he always gave the same answer: "None of my past films are my favorites. My next film is always my favorite." Fact 7. Yvette Mimieux lied about her age to get the role. MGM had already rejected her once. Rod Taylor didn't want her. Pal insisted. Mimieux told Pal she was 18. She was 17 when filming began. Not legally permitted to work a full shooting schedule, she worked one anyway. Taylor described her as a strange hippie child. Pal brought her back for a second screen test after MGM turned her down. By the end of the 29-day shoot, she had improved so dramatically that Pal ordered her earliest scenes completely reshot to match the actress she had become. Fact 8. The time machine itself started as a barber's chair. The rotating disc only spins in one direction because reversing it was too expensive to build. MGM art director Bill Ferrari began with a barber's chair and evolved it into a sled shape inspired by Pal's memories of Hungarian sleigh rides. The disc was meant to spin one direction for the future, the opposite for the past. The reversing mechanism couldn't be built within budget. In the finished film, the disc only ever spins counterclockwise. The machine that travels in 2 directions was built to move in one. A barber's chair became a time machine, a disc that can only spin one way. Up to here, what they built. From here, what they buried inside it. Fact 9. The Morlocks were played by professional wrestlers, cast specifically because Rod Taylor threw real punches. The production needed performers who could absorb real contact inside heavy latex costumes with almost no visibility and keep moving. Professional wrestlers could. The camera caught what happened when they couldn't quite stop in time. Fact 10. The instrument panel of the Time Machine shows the arrival date clearly on screen, October 12, 2701. The crew confirmed it was deliberate. That date is Columbus Day. The production chose the exact anniversary of the moment a man from one world first stepped into another. It is there in every print, every screening, every frame where the panel is visible. Nobody in 60 years of audiences noticed. Fact 11. The growing tree sequence, one of the film's most magical moments, is not time-lapse photography. It is a painting. Artist Bill Brace painted it by hand on a single canvas, one frame at a time, leaf by leaf, apple by apple, through every stage of growth. A locked-off camera photographed each edition. Audiences for 60 years assumed they were watching a real tree filmed over weeks. They were watching a man paint. Fact 12. Peggy Lee wrote a song for the film. No recording has ever been found. Not a studio tape, not a demo, not a reference copy in any archive. The song is gone. Lee had worked with Pal since the 1940s when she voiced characters in his animated puppet shorts. She wrote a full piece. It was rehearsed, then dropped. Nothing from those sessions has ever surfaced. No tape, no score, no memory of what it sounded like. Fact 13. The sirens that summon the Eloi to their deaths are the same air raid sirens from the nuclear wars, unchanged across 800,000 years. 800,000 years of conditioning. The Eloi walk toward their own deaths because a sound their ancestors used to survive now means something else entirely. The prop siren that plays throughout the film is the same one, unchanged. The crew kept it that way, on purpose. Fact 14. The melting Morlock, one of the most disturbing effects in 1960 cinema, was a wax figure blasted with heat while the camera rolled. The wax figure was filmed under intense heat. The footage slowed to create the illusion of accelerated decomposition. The creature gushes blood from its mouth as it dissolves. In 1960, nothing like it had been seen on screen before. Fact 15. George Pal spent the last 20 years of his life trying to make a sequel to the film. MGM rejected every script he submitted. He died in 1980 without it. He wanted to finally film the dying Earth sequence, the Crab Beach ending he had been forced to abandon in 1960. MGM rejected every script he submitted. He died of a heart attack in Beverly Hills on May 2, 1980. The sequel he had spent 20 years trying to make was never produced. Fact 16. In the summer of 1979, George Pal gave a young aspiring effects artist the last surviving original Morlock mask. Less than a year later, Pal was dead. A wildfire had destroyed Pal's home in 1961. The miniature time machine, original production materials, nearly everything he had kept from his films. The only reason any Morlock mask survived was that he had stored one at his office. He gave it away to someone who would care for it. It is believed to be the only original screen-used Morlock in existence. A man who spent his life building things he couldn't always keep, gave the last one to someone else before he left. His favorite film was always the next one.